Hey Alex, how you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Okay.
I want to talk about.
I wish I had a date tomorrow night. My wife's at home. Sorry, go ahead, Alex.
That's right. I'd like to bring up your second topic of intelligent design.
Yes, sir.
And you claimed everything seems to be very intelligently designed. What about all the examples of things that aren't very intelligently designed, such as the human eye, where the nerves are actually in front of the receptors, so light has to travel through the receptors to hit the cones and the rods, travel back across, and then since all the nerves have to go back across the rods, you have a blind spot.
Yeah, excellent question. In fact, the theory of intelligent design does not say everything is perfectly designed. In fact, there is no such perfection in this universe. Why? Because in order to know whether something is perfectly designed, you'd have to know the intention of the creator or the designer, and we don't. Also, we admit in a world constrained by physical and spatial constraints, there can only be trade-offs. For example, this laptop right here, you might say, is good for showing PowerPoint presentations, but it's not good enough to run all of NASA. But there's a trade-off, right? If I wanted a computer big enough to run all of NASA, I couldn't travel with it. Okay? It'd be too big, too bulky, and cost too much, and take too much power. So this is good for what it's supposed to do. So when we say that something isn't perfectly designed, we have to have an idea in mind of what perfection is and what the intention of the designer is. Stephen Jay Gould, a number of years ago, the great atheist, Darwinist, punctuated equilibrium guy from Harvard, wrote a book called Panda's Thumb, where he said, look, the panda doesn't have an opposable thumb like we do. It's imperfect. But the bony protrusion the panda had was good enough to allow it to strip bamboo so it could eat. Yeah, the opposable thumb didn't allow the panda to type a book. The pandas don't do that. But it was enough to allow him to eat. So the only way that Gould could know it was imperfect would be to know the intention of the designer. Maybe the designer wanted it to be just good enough to strip bamboo and that was enough. The point here is that imperfect design, whatever that is, does not imply no design. My car is not perfectly designed, but it's still designed.
Well, it's bad design, though.
No, it might not be bad. My car gets me places.
What's so hard about flipping the neurons and the cones around?
One of the reasons they're flipped, and I don't know all the details on this, I just did read an article, but it was like 6 months ago, so I don't know all the details right. The reason the cones are flipped is to allow the appropriate blood flow to get to that part of the eye, and if they weren't flipped, you wouldn't have proper blood flow. Now, everyone in here can see, right? Is your vision... I mean, it would seem to me the more interesting question is, why do we have vision at all? Not why do we have maybe a blind spot because cones are in a certain way. The idea, Alex, before 4 or 5 years ago was this was a flaw in design. Now they're finding that it's not a flaw at all, that it actually allows blood flow to be at the right part at the right time.
What about the enzyme rubisco in plants? It's the thing that fixes carbon, and also it has to bind oxygen to break down carbon. So it has two processes that compete with each other and makes it less efficient at both. Two enzymes could have been designed to do both processes separately.
Okay, so?
So why aren't they designed like that? It makes more sense.
Well, I don't know what the intentions of the designer were, but they're still designed. Enzymes are designed.
Well, I disagree with that.
They're not?
They're not designed, no.
Are you designed?
No.
Do you design things?
Sure.
So you design things.
That's not a natural process, though.
I know it's not a natural process, it's an intelligent process, right? You're an intelligent being. So you can write a letter to somebody, and that would be design. But this note here from Dawkins would never arrive by natural forces. Right?
Right.
Only an intelligent being would arrive by, or only an intelligent being could do this. Well, we have this plus 1,000 volumes more of an encyclopedia in an amoeba a fraction of an inch across. And you're saying that's designed, but the amoeba's DNA is not?
Correct.
I find that incredible.
There's such thing as emergent complexity. I mean, would you say a forest has some overarching thing controlling? Because they're very complex. You have a lot of simple rules that are followed, and you get emergent complexity, where the whole is greater than the sum.
Okay, where do these rules come from?
Nature.
Where does nature come from?
Nature itself.
Nature's not always been here, that's the point.
Atoms.
Atoms are nature. Where did the atoms come from? They came out of nothing.
Strings.
Where do strings come from?
Probably energy of some sort.
Energy's not eternal. Second law of thermodynamics. It had a beginning. Let me ask you a question, Alex, because this is interesting. And please give me an honest answer. I know you would. If Christianity were true, would you become a Christian?
No. Just for the moral reasons. But
If it were true.
I wouldn't deny a God. Okay, then yes. If we're true, then yes.
Okay. So you mentioned not for moral reasons? What do you mean?
I don't think, if I don't believe a God exists, and I don't believe that the Christian God's moral. But that's tomorrow, let's talk about it.
Well, no, we just did talk about the morality. I mean, if you want to talk about the God of the Bible, we can. But where are you getting this idea of morality if there's no God?
Well, I don't want to waste everyone else's time with this question. Sorry. It's going to be a long answer. I don't want to like waste.
Well, let's do it again tomorrow night. Think about it a little bit, and then come back tomorrow night and bring his date if he doesn't bring it. All right, is that good? That's a good idea.